Ken Delanian, NBC News intelligence and national security reporter. All right, Ken, even though we were trying to lay this out very step by step here for folks to keep up where we started on Sunday afternoon and where we are today, do we know everybody that was in that meeting? And do we know at least the number of people who were in this meeting at this point?
Chuck, we don't know either fact. There's been reports just in the last hour of the name of a translator who may or may not have been at that meeting. NBC News has not been able to confirm those reports. We're reaching out to this person. And there's also some evidence that there was yet another unnamed person in the meeting who was neither the translator nor the Russian lobbyist nor the Russian lawyer. So, no, there's still things to be learned about this meeting, Chuck. But the larger question really, in my mind, and it has been all day, is what explains the disconnect between the very specific promise of Russian help from the Agalarov family, which, don't forget, was in business with the Trump family. Right. The very specific promises made via email, and this kind of nothing burger of a meeting as described by both the Russian side and the Trump side. They both tell it the same way.
Right. Now, you helped break this story this morning about the addition of that former counterintelligence officer, Renat. At the time, we weren't ready to name him. Now we have Renak Akhmakshin. I hope I have pronounced his name correctly. Tell me more about him.
He is a classic Washington operative, Chuck. You and I know people like this around town. He is a lobbyist. He was born in Russia. He did serve some time in the Soviet military where he did a counterintelligence job. I wouldn't make too much of that. He came to the United States. He became a citizen. He's kind of known as a fixer. He's been called a hired gun. He works in the shadows. He does political work. He does corporate intelligence work. And he is definitely lobbied on behalf of some causes that have been favorable to Vladimir Putin, and most specifically this Magnitsky Act sanctions case, where he and this Russian lawyer who attended the meeting have been arguing against the law undergirding the sanctions and against the story that led Congress to pass that law. And that's what they say they were presenting to the Trump administration. And also as part of that, they were talking about some what they viewed as shady contributions to the DNC that they thought Trump folks might be interested in. The Trump people say they weren't interested, that it was, as I said, a nothing burger.
Now, there has now been reports that they left some documents with Donald Trump Jr. And the campaign. But there's been some confusion about what exactly they left. Was it a treasure trove? Was it a two-page deal? What was it? What do we know?
Well, the lawyer told NBC News in that exclusive interview earlier this week that she brought with her a two-page document that kind of summarized all this criticism of the Magnitsky Act, the sanctions issue, and as one small part of that, she said it referred to some shady money going into the DNC. And she wasn't clear whether she left the document with them or showed them the document. Now, in subsequent accounts that Renat, the Russian-American lobbyist, has given to other news organizations, that story's gotten amped up a little bit, and he's portrayed it as a more substantive thing. But either way, it doesn't seem to have been the kind of derogatory information that the Agalarovs seem to be promising in that email exchange.
All right, Ken Delanian. I'm sure in the next 30 minutes or so, we might get yet another update on what we know about this meeting.
Chuck.
All right, Ken, thanks very much. Let me bring in tonight's panel.